Vorang Thung, Earthlit gamers, my name is Grey the Mighty, and I welcome you to my illustrious organ that I call Consoletronics. And if you don't understand what I'm on about, chances are you're not an avid reader of the galaxy's greatest comic, 2000 AD. Well, don't worry, today's episode in my Skrotnik video game showcase series shines a spotlight onto future lawman and icon of British comics, Judge Dredd, Zarjazz. The much discussed video game crash of the early 1980s that Nintendo would take full advantage of with the Western release of their Famicom console barely caused a ripple on this side of the pond, as new gaming systems were being released here in the UK every other week. The most successful and best remembered of which was also one of the earliest, the Commodore 64, and it's here we would first see Judge Dredd dispensing instant justice in the video game world, even if he does look more like Banana Man than Mega City 1's finest. Having filled the ISO cubes of all the rabble on the Commodore 64 and ZX Spectrum, old Stonyface would return to take the law to the lawless lands of the 16-bit home computers on the Commodore Amiga and Atari ST, and unlike the previous games which I couldn't get my head around, here we are in more traditional platform territory. "1995 was a hell of a year. Hell of a year. We had Mortal Kombat packing out theatres all over the place, proving video games could indeed make the transition to film successfully. And another British director would take on the once thought impossible task of putting Judge Dredd on the big screen. But the less said about that, the better. Instead, let's take a closer look at the video game tie-in, which follows the plot of the film for a bit, before becoming its own thing with levels set in Dead World. A great game that's almost as hard as the man himself.
Remember, I got enough firepower to take out 50 blocks.
Bloody hell. The early days of 32-bit gaming were a good time for many British software houses who cut their development teeth on 16-bit computers rather than consoles. Gremlin Interactive, who had scored a number of international hits at this time with games like Loaded and the Actua Sports series, were next up with a stab at replicating life as everyone's favourite street judge. Out go the old 2D platforming to be replaced with a rail shooter set in the mean streets of Mega City 1. Fun for a bit, but thankfully this wasn't the last time JD would gun down numbers countless on console. In the year 2000, British video game developer Rebellion, most famous for the half-decent Sniper Elite and decades worth of Aliens vs Predator games, bought the 2000 AD comic, and something would have to be seriously wrong if we didn't see a game based on the comic's flagship character. But in 2003, the wait was finally over, with Dredd vs Death for PS2, Xbox, PC and GameCube. But was it worth the wait? Well, while far from perfect, it's an entertaining first-person shooter that many, including myself, hoped might have become a franchise. Sadly, it wasn't to be. But while Judge Dredd video games might be becoming less and less of a reality, at least he's still doing what he does best, each and every week where he started his career, the pages of 2000 AD. So order yours from your local thrill merchant, and I'll see you soon with more videos. Splundig Vertrig.